as both of you think about people who might be coming at this from a different angle, meaning that they haven't had their lives leading up to this path, but they're starting to turn that corner maybe later in life. What advice do you have for people that maybe it's a little overwhelming? I think, Mike, you kind of alluded to this earlier, like it's hard to all of a sudden pivot when you've got these life habits. But what is some maybe general first steps that you guys have as advice for people who are just starting to really get their finances together later in life?
Okay, I got a lot of thoughts on this one. I'll be
Oh my
quick though.
God.
This will be quick. I'll be quick.
All right.
Okay. I think that's a great question, first off, Ben. And I love the whole concept of FI after 40 because I really think it opens up a conversation of people realizing like it's never too late, right? 40 is not even that old. I'm telling myself that since I'm about to turn 40. But it's never too late, right? And there's I think so much that can come from the sort of story you're telling. But to answer your question, I think it's the same concepts. Like it's the exact same concepts. You're just doing them later in life at a later point. There's absolutely nothing you can do to undo the past. For the most part, I'm going to come back to that in a second. You should not, and on my point of like, you can't undo the past, like don't waste time judging yourself. Don't waste time being hard on yourself. Just recognize where you're at now and do your best moving forward. And on my point about you can't undo the past, you can undo a few things from the past, right? You can downsize your home. You could downsize your car, right? If you have a really expensive car that you can't afford, you can sell that car and you can get a cheaper car. You can start spending less and saving now, but there are a couple things you can do to undo the past. You can sell a lot of things, right? If you own a bunch of stuff you don't need, or you have, expensive hobbies, that stuff you don't use anymore. So those are some of the things you can do to kind of quote undo the past. But for the most part, like don't dwell on the past. Just do your best with what you've got now. And, once you know better, do better.
And I think for people who are a little bit later in life and later in their career, it's important to both have a very strong vision for what you're hoping to achieve so that you have the motivation. But then try your best not to slowly ease your way into these things. Like when you are just starting in the workforce and you're 22, it might be a real challenge to save $2,000 a year for your retirement. But if you are 40 or 50, don't save $2,000 a year. Save $20,000 a year. Save $50,000 a year. You likely have the means to do so if you make some tougher decisions. But what I see a lot of people doing who when they finally learn about some of the corporate benefits, how 401ks work, how deferred income programs work, how stock purchase plans work, they like to ease their way into it because it isn't comfortable for them. But that is not what you should be doing if you have an aggressive timeline. You need to make a tough decision and you need to jump in big because hopefully at that point you are earning enough to do that. And if you want to catch up to the people who have been doing this since they're 20, you need to be doing considerably more because you have less time for that money to grow.